Welcome to Trailblazing Tex, and today we have Jeremy Goodson, who works for University of Pikeville as an academic associate. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. How are you?
Not too bad, just living this quarantine life, but actually today in Denver, we officially start to open up. I don't know what that means, but
you're in
slowly but surely.
phase one now.
Yeah. What about you guys in Kentucky?
Phase one, I think like next week, phase two may start. I'm not sure. I just know I need a haircut. So
yeah, I feel that
happen.
I've got a lot of hair. I could use a haircut. I could get a pedicure. I could use my eyebrows done. There's a lot of things I could use being done, but
all the same here. Yeah.
Same. Yeah. And even though it's opening today, like it doesn't seem like many people are really opening their doors. So I'll be interested to see kind of like who opens and who doesn't. So University of Pikeville. So where is that in Kentucky?
That's in Pikeville, Kentucky.
What is that close to, or how far away is it from other cities?
It's close to a ton of mountains.
Okay.
And we're tucked down in the middle of just a bunch of giant rocks and trees.
Okay.
Relative to Lexington, Kentucky, which is where the most storied and prestigious collegiate basketball program in men's history is, the University of Kentucky Wildcats. We're about 3 hours away. So.
Oh, okay. So still pretty good ways. And where are you from? Pikeville originally, or somewhere else?
I'm from about 20 minutes outside of Pikeville. I grew up in Dorton, Dorton. With my accent, I'm Dorton. Dorton, Kentucky. Lived in Cincinnati for a few years, but other than that, this is my home.
Yeah. I don't know, though. By your accent, I would have thought maybe you were from New York or something. I'm not 100% sure.
Yeah, just the strong, actually Boston.
Boston. Strong, close. So with you being from Pikeville or near Pikeville, and you're at Pikeville now and you're on campus, I know students are not on campus. One, you've wrapped up finals, but two, because the doors have kind of closed because of the pandemic. What has been kind of the biggest challenge for you guys, and what are you guys trying to do to bring a sense of normalcy a little bit to the students' education?
That has actually been the toughest part of this whole process for us, is just trying to find the way that we can bridge ourselves and our students, because every student that goes here they're just spread everywhere. Yeah. So trying to find out how to have meetings, trying to find out how to offer help, and especially from our department where we offer tutoring and supplemental instruction, and we try to offer as much help as possible. Like, how are we able to run study groups? How are we able to have study halls for athletics right now? And that's been the toughest aspect, is trying to find what works best technologically. And some things, as we've seen, work fantastic sometimes, not so great other times. Right. So it's having those communications has been a challenge.
Sure. And are you guys planning, at least right now, to open up back for the fall semester?
Right now, we announced that we're moving to 2 8-week blocks come the fall, and I think the thought process on campus right now is, we will be open, because there are other places closer to us that have already announced that they're going to be open and have students back. But we're going to have restrictions. We're going to have social distancing restrictions. Obviously, there are concessions that we're going to have to make. Yeah, I feel like work. We just have to. We've never faced this before. No one has. So trying to find the way that we can do it best is tough.
Yeah. And I know one way you guys have been engaging your students is through a podcast. And actually, you were my initial point of contact. Ellen Campbell, who works with you now, but I knew her previously at Marietta College. She was the one that put us in contact. I had no idea how to do this. So for one, I appreciate you, A, teaching me, and B, coming onto the show. But where did the idea come from for a podcast, and what do you guys talk about on your shows?
Thank you. You've done fantastic with this too. I've listened to a few episodes so far, and
thank you.
It's really engaging, especially the conversation that is on here, and the variety of guests you have is awesome.
Thank you.
We were actually, it was right after spring break when we decided that no students on campus, and we were having a meeting to decide, to try to figure out a way that we can reach out to students. And just offhanded, someone said, there are so many new ways out there that you can talk to, people throughout. And one they just threw out podcast, and immediately Ellen turned to me and said, "This guy is the biggest idiot in the room. Let's give this to him and see what he does with it." And from that point on, it took about a week for me to come up with an idea and put it into play. And within a week, we had recorded our first episode of the UPike Bearcast.
Okay.
It comes out every Friday. We're on Apple Podcasts. We're everywhere you listen to podcasts.
I love it. I love y'all's pod. I haven't listened to the most recent, but when you were first putting them out, I like them. I think you guys are doing a great job engaging your students, and I've appreciated some of the candor that you guys have. Like, is a hot dog technically a sandwich or not? That's a great debate.
Is a hot dog a sandwich? Yeah, there you go.
I don't know. I'm torn, and we don't have to go down that debate, but it was definitely an interesting topic to listen to. Where do you stand? Where do you stand on that debate?
Oh, I am a hot dog as a sandwich. 100%.
So you define a sandwich as what? Something between two pieces of bread, roughly?
Yes. You put something in between bread, and you have a sandwich.
All right. I can't argue with that. I don't think I can disagree. So I'm gonna just now, when I go places that have hot dogs, I think I'm just gonna ask for a sandwich and see what happens.
Exactly. Can I have a sandwich? What would you like on it? A wiener.
Wiener. I would like a wiener on my sandwich. I like it. So, podcast, you obviously are very involved with the institution. And one thing I didn't know when I first met you was that you actually have been a student. And so you actually went back to school later in your life. Mm-hmm. And I don't like to use the word non-traditional student.
But it is what it is. But
it is what it is. Yeah. So, why decide to go back to college in your 30s?
There was a weird jump in there of I went to college in early 2000s and didn't do so well. It was my own fault completely. I didn't seek the help that I needed to learn how to handle this. Completed about 60-ish hours and then decided I was done. Went to work, worked in a variety of places. I was diagnosed with a nerve disease in 2012, and that sort of took the option to do manual labor jobs out. And I wanted to complete my education, but after the diagnosis, you have that weird time where you feel sorry for yourself for a while.
Yeah.
Did that for a few years, and then beyond that, like after everything kind of started evening out a bit, my wife suggested to me that hey, maybe you need to try this again and go and see if you can make it work this time. And with a ton of added motivation, I have 3 daughters, so that right there is a motivator to make this happen. And went back and was able to finish 63 hours from last spring to this spring. So,
awesome. And so where you're from, I believe you had told me that you and your sister were first generation college students, correct?
The first in my family anywhere to finish. She was the first. She's younger than me. I'm still resentful of that and let her know it frequently.
It's okay.
Yeah.
It's okay. But so you're first generation, you and your sister are the first ones to complete college in your family. That's a big deal. Where you're from, you had said that kind of coal mining was, kind of the career path that most people took. And so, was that something that you felt was kind of the path you were going to take? And then you just kind of decided that you wanted something different for yourself and your family?
Yeah. It's after I left school the first time, bounced around from a couple of small jobs. And then finally it was, I got to the point to where if I want to make a decent living in this area, you have to go inside this mountain and you have to stay there all day.
Yep.
And so made that decision. Unwilling. I did not want to, but I did. And it's like that first time that you're kind of on your little cart and you're riding into the mine and you're like the light disappears behind you.
Yeah.
It was terrifying. But after a few times of that, it was, I got used to it and I was there for a while. And then the economy decided to not want to work at all.
Like right now.
Yeah, like right now. Yeah, it's the same thing. That was 2008 and I was laid off and had to find other things to just kind of do. And I don't want to live my life like that. And I don't want my daughters to see somebody kind of jump from job to job, paycheck to paycheck, struggle.
Sure.
So, that was a huge factor in me returning to school.
Yeah. And, I look back, I graduated high school in 2009, and I look back and I'm very thankful that I was going into college at that time, and not graduating college or in the job market. But so you've gone back to school. And so what did you study? And I know you just completed, so you technically graduated, right?
I just graduated Saturday.
Okay. And so since there was no legitimate graduation, what did you do to celebrate?
We had my immediate family, my mom, dad, my grandmother.
Nice.
Our quarantine group that we're with all the time. Crew. Yeah. It's our quarantine crew. My daughters, my wife, and myself. We were had a small little graduation ceremony in my living room.
Awesome.
I wore my cap and gown. My daughter gave me a diploma that she made for me. So
that's cute.
It was in a weird way, it was more special. I get just walking across this giant stage with, I was able to spend it kind of intimately with my family, and my sister announced that I was, graduating class of 20, she was the announcer, and it was this whole thing that I was super appreciative of. And my wife actually was the one that came up with everything.
Awesome. No, congratulations. And I know that's a big accomplishment. So what are you graduating with? A bachelor's in?
I graduated with a bachelor's in history.
Okay.
Because I am a nerd and enjoy anything history. And I love to read.
Mm-hmm.
And I told my wife, like, the last week after I finished my last final, I was like, now I can finally get back into leisure reading.
Yeah,
I can
that's
read
true.
what I want to read. And then I immediately went and bought a book about Teddy Roosevelt and Winston Churchill. So it all changed.
Which Winston Churchill book did you just buy?
It's one about the Boer War by Candace Millard.
It's not The Hero of an Empire, is it?
Yes, it is. It's the Hero.
That's a really good book.
Yes,
it's awesome.
I got that and was super looking forward to reading it, because it was kind of, it's his early career and how he kind of made his name.
It's incredible, the Boer War and kind of everything that was going on. Like when we think of Winston Churchill, we think of kind of like the latter half of his life and who he was.
Yeah. You think of this super distinguished, just, like this guy right here is, he's leading this empire through World War II.
Yeah, and like leading us to freedom, right? And or maintaining our freedom. But like this story, and I'm not going to ruin it for you, but like they really go into it, and it's like pretty crazy how he gets captured and how he escapes. And like this whole thing of him like escaping in Africa. And like I sit here and I think to myself, like, I barely can iron. And this dude is like escaping prison and, as a prisoner of war and all of this stuff. It's so when you read that, let me know what you think, because I absolutely loved it. I'm kind of a weird Winston Churchill freak myself.
Hey, we all should be.
Yeah, I think he's incredible. Let me know what you think about that, because I couldn't put it down. Okay, so you have graduated officially with a history degree, and you are now actually going to go on and pursue your MBA.
Yes, I am. I'm going to get an MBA here from the University of Pikeville, where it's also offered. Going to go and start that this fall.
Nice.
And then beyond that, I've actually looked into PhD programs, and
good for you.
I don't know why I need to stop at some point, but I can't.
But like some people, there's definitely different types of people in the world, and there's some people that just like love to constantly learn and be in that academic setting. Like truly.
That's exactly what I've found, even coming back to school and actually taking it seriously this time, as opposed to the first time. I learned how much I loved it, and I loved like being on campus, being around the students, and now working here is the same thing. You're kind of inundated with all day. Yeah. And then, move from there, and I want to keep going now while I have the motivation.
Yeah, for sure. And so, you talked about you getting kind of that quaint experience graduating. I bet you it's a pretty special moment having your daughters see you graduate. And so what do you think when they observe you doing this, what do you think they're learning? I think it's pretty powerful.
That is the absolute best part of graduating was, because we have twin daughters who are 3. and our oldest daughter is turning 9 pretty soon. So she was actually there when I was diagnosed with my condition, and she had to see me at my worst in that, like, because I couldn't pick her up, couldn't hold her. And for her to now be able to look me in the eye, which she did, and tell me that she's proud of me for what I was able to accomplish was unbelievable to me. And the thing that I hope that she takes away from it most is that there are adversities, no matter who you are, what your situation is, there's going to be something placed in front of you that you are eventually going to have to overcome. And the thing that I hope is that she just realizes that no matter what's there, she can do it. Like, anyone can. So
yeah, I think that's awesome. I think that's pretty special that you get to share that with your kids, and they're you're being a role model to them ultimately of, you know, the importance of a degree, and any degree, right? You know, it doesn't have to be a bachelor's, right? It could be an associate's, or you can go to a trade. But the idea is that when you get this piece of paper, no one can take that away from you. You have it.
The thing that makes you feel successful, the thing that fulfills you and makes you feel like you have accomplished something, whatever that is. If that is, hey, I'm going to finish War and Peace, then if it makes you feel great to finish War and Peace, do it.
No, I'm with you. So good. Awesome. I'm happy for you. And so and I know you've looked into PhD programs potentially, but, you know, with the immediate future of your MBA, you know, what would you like to accomplish with an MBA? Like, a lot of people have totally different journeys and destinations they're trying to go when they get that MBA.
To me, it's the next logical step in kind of where I want to be in higher ed, because I want to stay in higher ed now that I've actually started here, and I see kind of, you know, I'm attending meetings and I'm seeing all these different things and functions and the ways that everything works. And I feel like the MBA would help me so much in understanding a different aspect. Yeah. Because now I have, you know, in my mind, coming from history and coming from a humanities degree, I see a certain of what I can do in higher ed. But then you add in the MBA, and I feel like I can kind of come at it from both sides. You know, I can, you know, attack whatever's in front of us. So and then I've got Ellen to keep me grounded. So
she'll keep you in line. She kept my brother and I in line in school. So, you know, she's good at her job too. I was actually thinking when you mentioned the humanities degree. So I have an English degree as well. And now I sell like HR software, right? Yeah. But I feel the same way. I don't know if I personally would ever go and pursue an MBA just because I'm a very bad student. Like, it's just a lot. But I find myself kind of in the same position where I kind of bring this different perspective just because of like my humanities background. And then there's kind of like the business stuff that I just have to learn. Right. And I'm learning it on the fly, which is helpful. Like, you can learn anything on the fly, but sometimes I'm like, man, I wish I just had like legitimate instruction on X, Y, and Z.
That's exactly what I want. And that's one of the reasons that I want to pursue this is to have as much ammunition, I guess, as I can whenever I come in and I'm trying to solve an issue or see a problem here.
Yeah, no, I think that's awesome. All right. So let's switch gears here to very hot topics around basketball. So there's a little bit of trash talk going on Twitter today about Kentucky and Duke. But before we get to that conversation, because we know Duke is the better program, The Last Dance. Have you been watching The Last Dance?
I love everything about it. It is perfect.
It's so well done. I didn't know what to expect. I knew it was going to be good, but it's so well done. So I'm only 28, right? So Jordan's heyday, I was very little. Like, I obviously knew who he was and stuff, and Space Jam and all that jazz. But like, this has been super interesting to just kind of watch, because you hear about his greatness and then you get to actually see it kind of it's not real time, but basically, right? It's old recordings. And to see just how competitive he was and like how much of a dog he really was. Like, he was never going to let anyone be better than him. And that just drove him every single day. And it is actually insane. So I guess, what has been your favorite thing that you've seen so far, because they're still coming out with the episodes right now?
Oh yeah. There are three things that I have taken away that I love the most. One is how Jordan made everybody around him better. Like it's insane how his competitiveness and how his drive made Pippen better and kept Rodman in line. Maybe, as much as possible. So number two is actually Dennis Rodman. That man he's something special. But and I even said this to my wife the other night when we were watching it. When I was younger, I'm 35, so I was there for Jordan. Like I was a teenager whenever he was, making his comeback, and they were three-peating for the second time. And Dennis Rodman is the hardest playing basketball player I've ever seen anywhere. It doesn't matter where. Like if it called for him to dive headfirst into the ground for one rebound, he would do it.
He was going for it.
Favorite thing is that Michael Jordan and Isaiah Thomas still hate each other. Like they cannot stand each other.
I honestly had no idea. Like I knew they hated each other, but I did not realize it was still to this day. And it was that deeply rooted, and it was over something that's actually super petty.
Yes. And it's like Jordan reading the message, like reading what Thomas said about him and just
his facial expressions.
Face, like, oh my God. Like I love it. And the fact that Isaiah, even now, is just in Jordan's head.
Oh, 100%.
He's just still living there.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's, Michael Jordan still just constantly is competing, at the end of the day. And he's, it's been kind of wild to watch. And also you think about how laser focused that man is. And so I was actually listening to another podcast, and they were kind of having the same debate, and they brought up a good point. It's called the Extra Pass podcast. And they were bringing up a point called that he was so laser focused, and anything that got in his way of basically being the greatest and or like repeating was just a distraction. And so for the most part, he didn't have distractions. Now, as he became bigger and bigger, some of those things came out, like, some of the gambling speculation and everyone has skeletons in the closet, but for the most part, aspects. Yeah. And so for the most part though, there was no distractions. Like that guy was just there to ball.
Yep. And
I respect that.
He did it better than anyone. Like that's because I've watched a ton of basketball in my life, and I've never seen anyone like Jordan. Kobe Bryant is the closest that I can make in terms of the way that, and especially the competitiveness. Like Kobe had that.
Yeah.
It's like just that same hunger and fire that, it seemed Jordan had.
Yeah. And one thing too that I think puts Jordan at another level in general is just the fact how dominant he was early in his career. Like it even took Kobe a little bit of time. LeBron James is definitely a beast, right? Like no one can take that away from him, but I still don't think he was, as dominant. And also the fact that Jordan played such crazy defense, right? He was all team, defense and offense and all of that.
Defensive
so he was
player of the year multiple times.
Yeah. And just such a well-rounded player, and the fact that he was able to play on all cylinders like that on both ends of the court. Like, I don't know if we'll ever see someone like that, just because now basketball has changed a lot too. But, watching the clips of 90s basketball, it was like watching WWE matches at times. And it's wild.
Yeah. Jordan had to do what he was doing while getting punched in the face by Bill Laimbeer.
Yeah. No, it's actually insane. Like watching these clips now of what wasn't a foul, and then what would probably be a flagrant foul in today's world as well. And like anything things change, and so basketball has definitely evolved and it has changed. But do you think if Jordan played in today's basketball world, he would be as dominant, if not more?
I think he would be more so, especially with his just his natural given ability to just get in the air and create a shot. It's insane. But Jordan was the guy that could back you down, hit the fadeaway, pull up in your face wherever he was.
Yeah.
And defensively, I think with his size and length, who he would be guarding nowadays, he would just be so disruptive. So I think even now Jordan would be maybe even better than he was then.
Yeah, it's definitely the argument people are making. One thing too, as I've just been watching this documentary, Jordan's hands are massive.
They're insane. They're as big as this whiteboard behind. That's crazy.
Like, I mean, he's a big guy, but there's definitely a lot bigger of people in the NBA. And you just like watch him put his hand like around a ball.
Yeah.
And like I feel like he's just like grabbing like a stuffed animal ball, and he's just like, oh,
yeah,
here we go. I'm just gonna jump in the air, do whatever I want to put it in the basket.
You always have that crazy highlight against, I think it was the Trailblazers, where he goes in and he layups and switches to the other end. And in that highlight, you can see his hand is just covering an entire side of the ball. So
yeah, it's actually insane. There's also a lot of debate around if even changing hands was like necessary. It's like a hilarious like debate.
It wasn't. He was already up there, but
yeah. It's like hilarious to just like watch people talk about it, and it's like why are we even debating this? Like the man can obviously jump out of the roof and switch hands if he wants to, and not if he wants to, or take off from the free throw line
on every layup. So
yeah. All right.
It doesn't matter.
So I think we're both in agreement about MJ. You know, the way I break it down is I think MJ is probably the best player, like well-rounded. I might argue that LeBron is maybe the best like offensive player potentially. Just he's so big and he's so physically dominant. But again, like I think it's hard to measure people in today's era because the defense is just not the same. So it's really hard for me to say like this is the best player to ever live. Now, I was hoping we were going to get a lot of hype around, just to kind of diverge a little bit, around Zion. I was hoping that maybe we would, but like granted with everything that's been going on, not so much. And then he was injured. And so that could have been like our next big, you know, generational player.
I still think that he's going to be like, by the time this is all over with, I think that Zion, especially with what he showed some during the season before it was shortened.
Yep.
Because he, you know, came back from the injury, and then after the injury, he was there. Like he was a guy that, with another year in the league, with getting in shape a little bit better, which he's in 10 times better shape than me. Like but you know, I can't say like he needs to get in shape.
Right.
I can't walk up 3-5 flights of stairs. So he's
he's still young though. Like he's
what,
maybe like 20, maybe 21.
Yeah. I mean, he's got plenty of time left to become fantastic.
Yeah. I was just really hoping, like, because he had the injury, and so that really just kind of slowed everything down. But I was really hoping we were just going to have this like massive showing where it was just like first game, Zion Williamson, welcome to the NBA, and it'd just be like electric. And I feel a little cheated that we didn't get that, and because the season has been shortened. But I mean, I think he's definitely going to be a dominant player, but I just didn't get the like first glimpse of Zion that I was hoping. It's selfish of me. But so Kentucky, you're obviously from Kentucky. You're a big Kentucky fan. I know you hate Christian Laettner. But I see it back there, but don't worry. I have my sign too. Here we go. But I will say, don't forget what was it? 2 years ago, I think. Yeah. 2 years ago, Duke waxed Kentucky by like 40 points. You know,
I'm going to throw out some stats. The winningest program in the history of men's college basketball. College basketball resides in Lexington, Kentucky. Okay. Just over 2,100 wins. It's insane. Duke's not there. Also, championships do we have? We've got 8. You know, UCLA won theirs in a row. Nobody cares. Nobody cares about UCLA. You don't hear anybody say anything about UCLA. Whatever. They haven't been relevant in years. But you want to talk about a program that's consistently won from the 1940s. Now, let's not talk about Eddie Sutton in the 80s. That was he got in some trouble. But then we picked back up, and now here we are. We're doing great.
I will say, like, honestly, I really don't have much beef with Kentucky. It's just always fun to just go back and forth. But I will say, I have never been a big Calipari fan. And I think part of it is from his Memphis days. I remember going to, it was the Sweet 16 and the Elite 8 were in Houston back in like 2009, I think. 8 or 9. Anyway, and he was coaching Memphis, and they were really good, but they couldn't make free throws. It was like absolutely absurd. And the fact that that man couldn't get like the best players in the country to make free throws absolutely blew my mind.
This past season's team is the best free throw shooting team that he has had his entire run at UK. And they actually shot super well as a team. They were in the high 70s as a team. But every other year, that's the same thing. They cannot make free throws, and I don't understand it.
Well, and it's actually, I think, plaguing college basketball in general. Like even Duke has struggled in the last couple of years. And it's like, guys, it is the same shot with the same ball and the same hoop over and over again. Like they're like people can make more putts consistently, and there's a lot more variables in that. And I just think back to like my days of high school and college where like we shot pretty good percentages because our coaches made us do this all the time. And if you didn't make them, you ran, right? And so I don't know what the disconnect is right now, why it just seems that very good players can't consistently make free throws. Like, I mean, I feel like that's something you do at such an elementary age is be consistent at free throws because it's a free throw. So like, you might as well make it. Like it's uncontested. Free. Yeah, it's uncontested. Go ahead and make it. That's actually another beef I have with LeBron. I think he should be a much better free throw shooter than he is.
Let's just lay everything out that we dislike about LeBron James. Right
okay. I used to be like one of the biggest LeBron haters in the world, especially when I lived in Ohio, because I just like literally was like, oh my God, everyone, please stop. But
then he left you.
He didn't leave me. He left the state of Ohio. Like he left the state of Ohio. He did not leave me. That kind of turned me off a little bit, but I will say like his last run in Cleveland, I thought was impressive. And then what he does as a person, I think is great. Like I think what he does outside the court, outside of those four lines is impressive and it's moving. And that's one thing people have criticized Jordan on, right? Is like he wasn't a big enough advocate for things. He wasn't involved socially, which is his prerogative, right? And it almost seems now if you're going to be famous and if you're going to be an athlete, like you have to stand for something because you're a role model and stuff like that. Jordan just wanted to play basketball. LeBron is doing more. And again, this was in that podcast too, starting businesses. He built that school in Akron. And so even though like I used to be the biggest hater in the world, like I can't necessarily hate him anymore. I feel I'm kind of over it. But I like what he does.
He's done a phenomenal job standing up for social issues and using that platform to raise awareness like that. And there are, so many things that he has taken part in when him and Wade and Carmelo Anthony came out at the ESPYs just a few years ago during terrible times in this country.
Yep.
They're not related to the pandemic that we're having now, but stuff that should be fixable.
Sure. Yeah. And I think, I always tell people like, it would be great to be famous just because like you have an absurd amount of money and you get to do whatever you want. Yeah. But I do not envy having to be someone's role model because that's a big pressure, doing the right things, saying the right things, because we all mess up, right? We all misspeak or we don't understand something completely and we say something that's a little incorrect and, you get scrutinized for it. And then before you know it, right, you can be seen as, the enemy in someone's eyes, or the next thing you know, endorsements are getting pulled and, there's such steep consequences. And so I don't envy anyone being famous, honestly.
Always appreciated the Charles Barkley approach to just say, I am not a role model.
Yeah, not a role model. Just say whatever comes out of your mouth, like a constant stream of word vomit. But I will say having like Charles Barkley and Shaq together is like one of the greatest. It's a dumpster fire, but it's entertaining. It doesn't hurt anyone.
You just want to sit there and watch the fire burn, though. You're like, this is the most entertaining thing I've ever seen. So,
and it burns. It burns. And then you have, the other people that, are pretty straight laced. And like, I cannot imagine like going through a script and then being like, I have no idea what's going to come out of Chuck's mouth. So
here's the script and you just throw it behind you because it's whatever.
Yeah. So we're living in interesting times. I do appreciate the commentary of Shaq and Charles Barkley. Yes. I do think Duke is a better program. I'm sorry. And I wish Kentucky the best of luck.
John Calipari is the greatest coach of all time.
I don't know about that,
until the next Kentucky coach gets hired whenever he
Well, didn't Cal just sign a big contract, like another 5 years or something?
it seems like he signs an extension every year for more money, and
he's not going anywhere. He's
making so much money there. He's doing great.
Oh man. Well, we'll see. We'll see what college basketball brings, I guess, next year.
I hope it brings something, because I'm missing sports right now.
It was kind of weird. Like, I definitely love March Madness. I know I love March Madness, but I don't think I realized how much I love March Madness until I don't have any to watch.
Well, I was watching the Korean Baseball League yesterday.
How is that, by the way?
It's baseball, and it's baseball that I've not seen before, so it's fantastic.
It's probably, you know what though, like I'm not a big, like I follow the Astros, but like I'm not like, I don't know much about baseball, but I'm sure it's actually good baseball, right? Like it's probably, if you're a baseball person, you're probably enjoying it. Oh,
I had a great time watching the game yesterday. That I had no idea what like who anyone was, but Carl Ravitch was there to tell me. So
there's somewhere out there too. Someone at work was telling me about that. They've kind of like made an analysis of like, if you're a fan of the Indians, then you would like this Korean team. If you're a fan of the Astros,
I need to find that.
Yeah. So then you can kind of get the camaraderie and the like, oh, I'm going to root for this team kind of deal.
I really hope Giants fan. So
you're a Giants fan.
Yeah.
My dad's a big Giants fan. So I kind of grew up, really before we knew Barry Bonds was like juicing himself to death. But
that's another topic that I have strong opinions on.
we will, there's a lot of opinions. I have a lot of baseball opinions too, especially with all of the stuff around the Houston Astros, but we won't go down that path quite yet. We'll have to revisit that maybe when baseball comes back.
We need to start a sports podcast.
You know what? If I knew more about other sports, it would be like the most fun job ever.
It would be awesome.
It would be the most fun. Like I think about ESPN, like I don't even know if I want to say ESPN, but those people that cover lots of different sports and how they can talk about, granted, I know they do research and they have people help them, but like the fact that they can still just do it. Like if I watched boxing, I'd be like, oh, he hit the other guy. Great hit. Like no idea. Zero idea.
Cool punch.
Yeah. There was a punch, guys, twice.
I bet that hurt.
Yeah. Like I would not know what to say. So there's definitely great sports podcasts out there that I kind of just listen to. And again, like if I had the mental capacity to take all of that in, that would be awesome. All right. Well, I appreciate you coming on. I appreciate you sharing your story. I really, I like the fact. So as I've kind of gotten guests on, I kind of found myself realizing that I had a lot of people that had a very traditional path, right? High school, college, job, and that's one path. Right. And so the whole point of my podcast is blazing your own trail, right? And blazing your own path. And so, you did that. And for your own personal reasons, you decided to go back to college and pursue your degree. And now you're going to get a MBA and stuff like that. And so I really appreciate you sharing your story, because I think sometimes kids and people get pigeonholed into this is how things are done. And it's not necessarily the right way for everyone. And you still can be successful and do things non-traditionally and maybe even out of order. You know what I mean? Yeah. And, you said even yourself that you have a better appreciation going back to school in your 30s. Absolutely. And, you're doing great. I know Ellen talks highly of you, and based on just what I see and what you're doing at University of Pikeville, it seems that you're doing really great work. And I appreciate you coming on. I appreciate you teaching me the podcast world, and we'll have to have you on again and we can have some deep baseball debates.
Yeah. Thank you so much. I'm so glad that you've taken the limited information that I gave you and expanded upon it and made something that I enjoy listening to.
Awesome.
I have a unique perspective on things, and that's what I wanted to bring to students and whoever's willing to listen, because I've talked constantly. So.
No, and I like that. And one thing too, if anyone's listening that might be a prospective student or looking into the university, you guys are on Twitter, and do you have other social media accounts?
Yes, we're on Twitter. The University of Pikeville is there at UPike Bears. You can also find me and Ellen at UPike CAE. That's our department, the Center for Academic Excellence. We're on Facebook. Okay. Center for Academic Excellence. You can find me on Twitter at Jeremy Goodson 4 and see some of these hardline opinions on whatever. So.
Yeah, perfect. And if you guys want to follow anything else that I am doing with Trailblazing Tex, it's on Twitter and Instagram, both of which have the handles Trailblazing Tex. And so when I push this out, I'll be tagging Jeremy and Pikeville and all of that stuff. And I appreciate you guys listening, and I appreciate you coming on.
Thank you so much.
Yep.